You build Jeremy Lin up for 26 games, make him a household name, make him $25 million, and lose him for nothing?
I just believe that people should release their tax returns.
There's obviously something there, because if there was nothing there, he would say, have at it.
Release the tax returns tomorrow. It's crazy.
We need to pull back this curtain on the sources of secret money. Why shouldn't American citizens know who wants to override our people power with their purchasing power?
Evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thanks a lot for joining us this Tuesday evening, July 17th. A lot to cover in the next 60 minutes, but up first, another kind of Lin-sanity. After Jeremy Lin captured the imagination of the sports world and actually got me watching Knicks games after about 10-year hiatus, the question is, before the Knicks tonight with the deadline of midnight looming, should they re-sign him, salary cap and all? And next, what's he hiding? Romney, he will not release more tax returns, and in the process, he's really setting himself up for a bad November. And will he try to change the topic with the VP pick this week? We'll tell you some of the names being thrown around. And later, an ugly campaign. If you think it's bad now, just think, we're not even in August yet, and now how nasty this thing has gotten. Got a top Romney surrogate saying that President Obama needs to, quote, learn how to be an American today. That's not even talking about the Limbaughs of the world. Has this campaign descended into nonsense? And then the hidden money trail. The Senate, they voted on the Disclosed Act again today. Now, if you say, what the heck is that and why do I care? You should. I'll tell you why today. The vote, it failed, and I'm telling you, when you learn what that really means to what you know or won't know going forward in this election season, I think you'll be more than a little tweaked. Well, that's what at least some senators want to know tonight when it comes down to what is really going on behind that curtain. It's all coming up on this edition of RFL, but let's begin with Jeremy Lin. As we report here tonight, it appears that Lin-sanity is all but over in the Big Apple. A number of media outlets reporting that the Knicks will not, I want to stress, will not match Jeremy Lin's offer sheet from the Houston Rockets, which is worth about $25 million over 8 years, and the prohibitive number nearly $15 million in that last year. So why would the Knicks not resign the point guard here, who certainly brought so many fans in? Now, as I said, it has a lot to do on not just the salary cap number, but also some of the tax consequences that the Knicks, but more specifically the owner, Jimmy Dolan, would be looking at in the final and third year of the deal, when, again, the Knicks would owe Lin about $15 million and then have to pay about another $28 million in luxury taxes. Now, if you're a Knicks fan, you know this already. If you're a casual fan, you probably do as well. Lin, he became not just a star in the metro area, not just a star across the league here, but an international sensation, and it was in literally over 25 starts. But it appears he's now off to the Rockets if the Knicks don't change their minds by tonight. All right, joining us now, as always, to sound off, good friends Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, and our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman. All right, guys. There's been a lot of back and forth. I think there's #1 water cooler topic, Dominic, going on here. I'll only tell you, from a guy who watched the Knicks, who watched almost every game when it was the Ewing Knicks with Oakley and the rest, and they would make the playoff runs, always falling short here. They became an unwatchable bunch of thugs with the Sprewells and the Marbrays, guys who wouldn't even show up, and when they did, all the baggage that came along. I actually found myself watching these guys last year, and it had a lot to do with Jeremy Lin. And my question is, if you were the Knicks, and it's nothing to do with salary cap, because that's a smokescreen. They were already over the cap without this guy. Would you re-sign him, and you're the owner? You'd have to go in your pocket for about $30 million in terms of a luxury tax headache. But that's what we're talking about. Would you pay this guy over a small sample performance the kind of offer that the Rockets made?
Okay, before I answer, I want to flip it. Would you pay him?
Yes, I would, and I wouldn't hesitate to do it. It's business as much as it is about the fans. To me, the Knick valuation went up in a huge way last year. We'll forget. Remember when Time Warner was having the big problem and they wouldn't want to put on MSG in the Knick games, right? What happened? All of a sudden, Lin-sanity broke out, and all of a sudden, everybody loved the guy, and they had to put him on because everybody wanted to watch the game.
Okay, well, let me tell you why I would not sign him. So we respectfully disagree here. Marketing-wise, I couldn't agree with you more. He was the man. not just nationally, but internationally. I agree with you. The Knicks had become, for lack of a better word, a group of thugs. Nobody wanted to watch them. I wasn't interested in watching them. And then all of a sudden, here comes this Asian American kid from Harvard University, and the Knicks are balling.
They couldn't make up a better story.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think a lot of the Knicks players resented his success. They felt that it wasn't earned. It was only over, I believe, 25 games. He was untested. And when he became a factor in terms of other teams focusing
can I ask
on
you for
him,
1 second?
yes.
To Dominic's point here, he's right. A couple of Knicks players have been outspoken. And if we could bring this up, 2 Knicks in particular, the captain, I'm putting that in quotes, Carmelo Anthony, okay, he said the following when asked about Jeremy Lin and whether or not Lin ought to be resigned. He said, quote, it's up to the organization here to say they want to match that ridiculous contract that it's out there. Now, he didn't say he hated the guy, but there's an unspoken code here in the NBA or in any pro sports. Don't hate on a teammate. Let him get his in terms of the money. So for this guy, okay, who they had a worse record when he was starting than when Lin was, but he's a black hole. He gets the ball, he never passes it, okay? For him to say that took him up, but this was the worst. J.R. Smith here, who probably made more headlines for texting and showing actually a picture of a gigantic behind of another woman, okay? He's becoming the voice of reason here. He said, quote, I don't even see where I got the line here, but basically there it is. Thanks, guys. I think some guys take it personal because they've been doing it longer and haven't received any reward for it yet. I think it's a tough subject to touch on for a lot of guys that he'd get resentment in the locker room. Who's J.R. Smith to be hating on Jeremy Lin? Shut up and play. You signed a contract and you get in more trouble than anybody.
You're right, but Lin is untested, and I don't know if he was worth an extra $30 million.
It's not coming out of their pockets.
It's not, but you're upset when you're in the locker room and the next guy next to you is who only showed up for 25 games in terms of playing at a high level, and he's making more than you. These guys get very upset.
Couple of points. The whole thuggish team without Jeremy Lin, doesn't matter.
Of course it matters. People weren't watching, Andrew. Ratings were down, revenue was down, and they weren't winning.
Rich, it doesn't matter if they win. I seem to recall,
but they didn't.
I seem to recall Latrell Sprewell and his Knicks team, and they were a pretty animated bunch. And I think you were.
And how long did they win for before he was threatening to choke the owner of the Knicks?
But they won. Is Jeremy Lin one of the best point guards in the NBA?
No.
Then why would you pay him as though he's one of the best point guards in
the NBA?
NBA?
Why don't we look at the roster on the Knicks? Who's getting paid?
Why wouldn't you use that money more effectively and buy a better team?
Because you can't.
And then you'll get the Garden coming in.
Because you can't. Without getting into all the details of the salary cap, the Knicks right now are hamstrung. They're paid, Stoudemire $20 million a year. He can barely walk with his back, okay? That's not Stoudemire's fault. I'm not blaming the guy. But they are hamstrung with what they have. The only reason they're not going to be paying Jeremy Lin isn't because they're trying to use the money to improve the team. It's because Jimmy Dolan doesn't want to reach into his pocket personally and pay a $30 million luxury tax. My point is, the guy's raised the valuation of the team. You don't owe him anything. But as a fan base, I'm not going to watch the games because they're not going to beat the Heat anyway. But I would watch them because I find them entertaining.
To me, Jeremy Lin is the same as Tim Tebow, and we had this conversation when the Jets got Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is good for ticket sales. He's good for TV audience. But he hasn't established that he's good for winning, and we could debate that.
We can debate that.
But Tim Tebow can ball.
Well, all right. But, Jeremy Lin to a certain degree can too. But those are not moves that are going to set you up for a long dynasty and a playoff
I'd agree with you, Andrew,
team.
if you could use the money to your point and put it somewhere else. But because of the machinations of the salary cap, the Knicks are already over it. And it's like the argument that because of his salary, now they're bloated. No, they're bloated because of everybody else's salaries too. He's a part of it. My only thing is, I'm not saying 25 games is a great sample. The guy couldn't guard you. Okay, I know all the things about Jeremy Lin, the shortfalls. The only point, though, is how many people, forget us, regular people that work in this building, could name 2 other guys on the team. They know him. They'll watch him. The Asian American, there's about 450,000 between Taiwanese and Chinese.
If they start winning, people will know who the members of the team are.
They're not going to win.
And in 3 years, when you had to pay him $15 million, and it probably would eat into your salary cap and reduce your flexibility to get a better team in place.
Do you think the Knicks, without him or with him, are going to win an NBA title when they got to go through the legs of the Heat?
No, but I think they're
in
a better position to do better without him on the team and without
Impossible, because you can't replace his salary with something else because they're already over. over. You can only retain your players. You can't bring somebody else in with that same money.
I know your time is short here, but I want to ask you this. What about, you mentioned the Miami Heat. What about when the Knicks played the Heat and the team started cracking down on Lin and he looked like a high school player out there?
Oh, he was exposed. But my only thing is, part of the reason, remember, was Carmelo didn't want to play ball with him. Listen, they give me the rap. But for me, I think they're not going to win anyway. At least let the fans enjoy. You build them up, you get your coverage, you get on Time Warner, and now you say, I don't want to pay the bill, you're on your own.
The $30 million, and then you can buy it.
Will you pay us $30 million?
Any of you defend Jim Dolan, we're going to have problems. All right.